Hi everyone, it has been 3 months since the Great Eastern Japan earthquake, and this is just going to be a quick recap on what has happened and what is currently happening. I know it's a quick recap and doesn't even touch on the details of the overall events that have taken place in the last 3 months. If you want to get some more details, though, go to earthquaketackreport.com. Plenty of information there, and actually up to 16 installments of different information posted across the website recently associated with the Great Eastern Japan earthquake. So just go there and check that. But starting with the overall intensity of this earthquake and all the information posted on the left here, 9.0 magnitude lasting approximately 6 minutes, so a very long and intense earthquake. 7 foreshocks actually took place, with a 7.3 occurring on March 9th. It actually caused a tsunami advisor being posted along the east coast of Japan out here when that foreshock took place. And I remember actually the warning going out for that, and many people were actually panicked about it, not knowing that the larger and much more intense earthquake was only going to take place 2 days later. And also noting thousands of aftershocks have taken place since the 9.0 magnitude earthquake on March 11th of 2011 here, and still seeing aftershocks out here. Actually, just a few days ago, a 6.3 did take place just off the east coast of Japan, so still seeing many large aftershocks taking place out in this region here. But moving on to the tsunami itself, though, this is what caused most of the damage out here. Max height was approximately 10 meters or 32 feet, and that took place along the Fukushima prefecture out in this region here. Actually, looking at in this area of Fukushima, 9.3 meters on this map over here, and this was the max intense of this 32 feet. Is an exceptionally high wave. Many pictures have been posted here. Just have the one rating here in the middle, and also just showing the magnitude of this and a computer model based of where it actually hit. Many of the coast of North America, all the way down to Chile, even saw some wave heights increased out here, and even as far south as New Zealand as well. And Hawaii also reported about a 6-foot wave height increase as the tsunami moved across that region there. So the overall magnitude and distance of this wave itself did not just affect Japan, but the entire Pacific Ocean. Just the most destruction, though, was definitely here in Japan, as many of the coastal areas were severely damaged. But we'll get a little bit more into the destruction here in a second. I actually do want to move on to the people affected by this from FDMA. Fatalities currently, as of June 11th, 2011 here, fatalities up to 15,245. So an exceptionally high number, still over 8,000 people missing. This puts up a total of 23,377 people missing or dead at this time. Still, the injuries even higher than that. Don't have that number listed here though, but those numbers continue to increase, and really just a sad story coming out of northeastern Japan here. Actually, over 30 deaths just recently reported due to Typhoon Sanga as that ran up the coast of Japan. It really was weak by the time it got up there, but due to the saturation of the ground and the instability already, some more deaths were reported just due to localized flooding and landslides. So still seeing some fatalities coming out of the tsunami even months after the fact. But also moving on to the property damage here, with exceptionally high numbers, up to 114,000 buildings destroyed and almost 373,000 partially damaged. So that's really hundreds of thousands of people without homes, without a business and non-such. And also another number I really do want to note here is the 80% of the hospitals in the Awati, Miyagi, and Fukushima prefectures completely or partially destroyed. So just looking at the damage overall out here, you really do get a sense, especially once you get on the ground and start looking at some of the videos on the ground damage out here, you just can quite just imagine the overall destruction of this wave that came through the region. Actually, this video coming from typhoonfury.com, and James Reynolds here. If you want to check out his channel, go on the top left up here. Really a lot of good videos on the footage of the tsunami aftermath itself out here, and on the ground damage is just unfathomable. And even looking at some of the satellite imageries, one may get the sensation that they're actually looking at typhoon or hurricane damage from the aftermath of a Category 5 typhoon or hurricane. Actually, this picture coming right out of the coastline of Sendai, and as you can see in the clearings out in this entire region here, this is just showing the destruction of the wave and how that's wiped out all of this region throughout here. And even moving farther to north to some of the smaller communities, you can see how many small towns were completely wiped off the map from this tsunami. Actually just showing this entire location right in here basically gone. That's all this area in brown. Some of these blocks up in here, you do see some of the houses right up near the coastline, but these are in some higher elevations. But a lot lot of the low-lying areas just exceptionally wiped out due to this 30-foot high. So I really encourage anybody that does have access to Google Maps or Google Earth just to go and check out some of these satellite imageries. This one also just south of Sendai out here, just showing the massive destruction several miles inland. So this really just kind of gives you a grasp of the overall destruction and overall magnitude of the tsunami and earthquake. But some of the relief efforts, actually billions of yen have been donated from various groups, including many private citizens. Worldwide help has been pushed to Japan from the U.S. Air Force, from reopening Sendai Airport, and many of the relief efforts coming from various countries all across the world. I noted Australia here because I just saw a piece not too long ago about some private citizens coming up and helping out. But really just a lot of relief efforts being pushed into Japan out here, and that's really what I'm just trying to annotate here. Also, the American Red Cross being a big part in there, and actually they donated a ton of money. But moving on to the Fukushima Daiichi, and I know that's one of those main aspects of the tsunami that many people do know about, is actually the overall meltdown of reactors 1, 2, and 3 after the tsunami. That whole entire complex, as noted here, really just get flooded out. The picture below this just showing one of the hydrogen explosions coming out of the reactors there after the hydrogen built up due to the lack of cooling coming in there. In the end, though, they did end up pumping a lot of seawater in there, but still to this day, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are still not in cold shutdown at this time. So really still some radiation continues to be released into the atmosphere, which actually brings me to this next part right in here, the radiation fallout. Still seeing some radiation actually being recorded around Japan here. This map right in here indicating it did travel across the Pacific, but once it got basically several hundred miles out to sea, it really got so dispersed that it does not affect so much any life, or does not affect any potential life. I know a lot of people did panic back stateside due to the radiation going out that way, but the point is that if you go in to get an x-ray at the doctor, it's going to be much more than any radiation you're ever going to feel coming out of Fukushima Daiichi. The only places really that could feel the potential of any effect of this is within 100 kilometers of the plant itself, but even here in Tokyo in the Kanto plain, still some radiation was picked up here from some of the Geiger counters, but really not too high and not any life-threatening. I know many of the crops in the region had been abandoned, and that was within that immediate vicinity of the plant itself. And also another thing I do want to note is the magnitude of the disaster is equivalent of 1986 Chernobyl event. So really still, even though the radiation itself far from the plant was not that high, in the immediate vicinity many people did have to get evacuated. Some plutonium was found in the soil there, and also Tokyo Gas and Electric insists that all reactors will be in cold shutdown by January of 2012, thus indicating that some of the radiation will continue to leak out until that time period. So really kind of a sad story coming out of there, and something we continue to closely monitor to this day, well after the tsunami occurred. But life today, though, even evacuation shelters, many of the psychological tolls, I do want to mention that a lot of people are still in shelters, still in temporary housing, and it looks like it could still continue to happen for years from now. And many Japanese people believe that their country will be stronger and not weaker after this earthquake, and a lot of Japanese people are very proud. This is a first world country that out here, and especially along the Kanto Plain, Tokyo and Yokohama, really you don't see too much change here. Actually, I showed some picture of Shibuya here after the earthquake, and that's one of the few things that did change, specifically in Tokyo. There's a lot of the bright neon lights and such. Really, they dim those down a lot just to conserve electricity and try to help out the rest of the people throughout the country here, not just donating money and such, but everybody just doing their part. And also another note here, I actually found this at earthquakereport.com, is earthquake drunk. Cases are on the rise in which people experience a sensation of an aftershock even when there is none. Well, me and my family here in Yokohama, just noting that as well, because we felt those recently where we thought there was an earthquake, but there just wasn't. And I think maybe everybody's just on edge, afraid of the next big one or not such, but I'm sure that's happening in many cases for Japan. But that is all for right now, everybody. If you want more information on the earthquake and many other earthquakes occurring around the world, please go to earthquaketachreport.com. Lots of good information in there, in-depth articles, much more in-depth than this video itself. I know this was a brief overview of what has happened, but really just trying to get geared everybody towards this website here, as there is a lot of great information going on written down. So thanks again for listening, everybody. I hope you have a great day. Stay out there and stay tuned for any more updates. Bye.